Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly showed up for yourself? Not for your job, not for your family, not for your responsibilities, but for you. We live in a world that constantly tells us to wait. Wait for the right time. Wait until you feel ready. Wait until the fear goes away. And in that waiting, most people stay exactly where they are, stuck in routines, hiding behind excuses, paralyzed by overthinking, and wondering why nothing ever changes. But here's the truth: the life you want, the growth you crave, the version of you that you haven't even met yet, it's not hiding behind motivation. It's not waiting in your comfort zone. It's sitting on the other side of discomfort, discipline, fear, action, and truth. This isn't about hype. It's not about shouting affirmations into the mirror or waiting for lightning to strike. It's about getting brutally honest with yourself. It's about understanding that the only way you unlock your true potential is by choosing to face what most people run from. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to challenge the lies that dress up as logic. We're going to call out the excuses that sound reasonable but keep you small. We're going to talk about why confidence doesn't come from waiting to feel ready, but from showing up scared and doing it anyway. You'll hear some hard truths, but if you let them in, if you really listen and act, you won't walk out the same way you came in. Discomfort is the path to growth. Lean into it. Think about the last time you truly changed as a person. Was it when things were easy, when the path was smooth, when everyone cheered you on? Or was it when you were challenged, uncertain, and maybe even terrified? Growth never comes wrapped in comfort. It doesn't arrive when you're relaxed, when you feel confident, when you're on autopilot. Real growth kicks in when you're unsure, when your hands are shaking and your heart is racing, and you're still moving forward. That's where transformation lives, on the edge of your discomfort. We've been taught to seek comfort, to plan for it, to prioritize it, to assume that when something is uncomfortable, it's wrong. But that's the lie. Discomfort is not a stop sign. It's not a warning that you're on the wrong path. It's a signal that you're entering territory where the real work begins. It's your body and brain waking up to the fact that you're doing something new, something challenging, something that could make you better. And if you push through it, even just for a moment longer than you did yesterday, you will be better. Every excuse we give ourselves not to grow is rooted in the desire to avoid discomfort. We say we're too tired, too busy, too unprepared. What we really mean is that we don't want to feel awkward. We don't want to feel like beginners again. We don't want to fail, look stupid, feel exposed. But the people you admire, the ones who inspire you, who seem to have something you don't, they got there by choosing discomfort on purpose. Over and over again, they walked into hard conversations, they put themselves in rooms where they didn't feel qualified. They stayed in the gym when their muscles burned. They spoke up when their voice trembled. They didn't wait until they were ready. They moved while they were scared. They leaned into the discomfort and came out stronger on the other side. You don't build mental toughness in a vacuum. You build it by doing hard things, not by reading about them. You get emotionally stronger by facing things that challenge you. That conversation you're avoiding, that's your opportunity. That risk you keep thinking about but never act on, that's the gateway. Every uncomfortable moment you lean into is like a rep in the gym. You don't see the results immediately, but something is happening. You're building the resilience to handle more, to step into new opportunities, to show up with more courage next time, and it stacks. The more you do it, the more you can do. Discomfort is a muscle. Use it or lose it. And here's the twist. Discomfort doesn't last as long as we think. Fear screams loudest before you take the first step. Once you start, something shifts. You realize you're capable of more than you thought. That job interview you were dreading, it wasn't as bad as your mind made it seem. That first time speaking in public, you survived, you got better, you learned. Your brain is wired to protect you from risk, to keep you safe. But safety isn't the same as success. Your instincts tell you to retreat, to procrastinate, to plan endlessly instead of acting. But if you want to change your life, you have to override that instinct. You have to practice courage in small, consistent ways, and it starts with choosing discomfort. Choosing discomfort is not about being reckless. It's not about seeking pain. It's about saying yes to the things that stretch you, even when it would be easier to say no. It's about recognizing that fear and doubt are not stop signs, but mile markers. They mean you're on the road to something meaningful, and the only way out is through. You can't think your way into confidence. You have to act your way there. You don't become resilient by avoiding failure. You build resilience by failing forward and realizing that failure didn't break you. It taught you. It prepared you. It strengthened you. Discomfort doesn't just shape you. It reveals you. It shows you what you're made of. And when you learn to lean into it, you stop running from your potential. You start chasing it. The resistance you feel is not the enemy. It's the signal. It's the green light. It's your body saying, "This matters. Pay attention. Step up." Every time you ignore that call, you settle. Every time you answer it, you evolve. The life you want, the version of you that you haven't met yet, lives on the other side of discomfort, not on the couch, not in your comfort zone, not in someday, maybe. But here now in the hard stuff you'd rather avoid but know you need to face. Would you like me to expand another keynote or help turn all 5 into a full-length speech? You tell yourself you're stuck, but that's not the truth. You're not actually trapped. You're scared, and fear has this clever way of disguising itself as logic. It whispers in your ear that you're out of options, that now isn't the right time, that you need more clarity, or more money, or more approval before you make a move. But none of those things are the real issue. You've got ideas. You've got dreams. You've even had windows of opportunity. You just didn't walk through them because fear got there first. It wrapped itself around your thoughts and convinced you that staying still was safer than trying. So you didn't act, and now you call it stuck. Feeling stuck is not a condition. It's a decision. A decision you make when the fear of failure feels louder than the possibility of success, and it's understandable. Your brain's number one job is to keep you safe, not to help you evolve. So it flags anything uncertain as dangerous, even if it could change your life. Every time you think about changing jobs, speaking up, launching something new, asking for what you deserve, your nervous system throws up the red flags. And if you're not aware of what's happening, you'll interpret those red flags as stop signs. But fear is not a reliable narrator. It's a security system, not a strategist. It's just doing its job. Your job is to do what fear tells you not to do, because that's usually exactly what you need to do. Think about how many times you've said, "I don't know what to do," when deep down, you absolutely do. You know the conversation you need to have. You know the boundary you need to set. You know the risk you need to take. But admitting that would mean holding yourself accountable for taking action. And that's where fear steps in and starts creating fog. It blurs your vision so that indecision starts to feel like the only option. But clarity isn't something you find by sitting still. It's something you get by moving. Action is the antidote to fear, and inaction is its fuel. The longer you wait to act, the more your fear mutates into excuses. And before you know it, you're decorating your comfort zone like it's your forever home. You're scared of the unknown, so you pretend you're stuck. You're scared of judgment, so you pretend you don't care. You're scared of failing, so you don't try. But let's be honest, staying where you are isn't exactly painless. There's discomfort in fear, but there's also discomfort in stagnation. There's pain in failure, but there's also pain in regret. So the real question is, what kind of discomfort are you willing to live with? The discomfort of doing something new and risking the fall, or the discomfort of doing nothing and wondering what could have been? You weren't born to stay stuck. You weren't meant to wake up every day feeling like you're meant for more but never doing anything about it. That voice inside of you, the one that says there has to be more than this, that's not random. It's not fantasy, it's a signal. It's your potential trying to get your attention, but potential without action is nothing. It dies in fear. It rots in indecision. It fades into bitterness. You don't need more time or talent or money to start changing your life. You need courage, not the kind that feels like a lightning bolt, the kind that's quiet and persistent, the kind that shows up even when the fear is still loud, the kind that whispers, do it anyway. The truth is, the scariest part is the beginning. Once you take that first uncomfortable step, the illusion of being stuck starts to dissolve. Momentum builds, confidence grows. You stop identifying with your fear and start identifying with your capability. And capability leads to freedom. Freedom to choose differently, act boldly, live fully. But none of that is available if you keep telling yourself that you're stuck. You've got to name the real emotion. Call it what it is. You're scared, that's okay, most people are, but fear doesn't mean stop. Fear means go carefully, it means pay attention, it means this matters. The power to change your life is not out there. It's not in some future version of you who has it all figured out. It's in the you who's sitting here, reading this, feeling the tension between who you are and who you could be. That's the sweet spot. That's the moment to decide that stuck is just a story you've been telling yourself. And stories can be rewritten. You don't need permission to begin. You need to take responsibility for your fear, for your choices, for the fact that your next move might scare you, but it will also free you. Motivation is a feeling, discipline is a decision, and feelings are unreliable. They come and go, rise and fall, shift with the weather, the news, your mood, your energy levels. One day you wake up excited, fired up, ready to take on the world. The next day, you don't even want to get out of bed. That's human, that's natural. But if you're waiting to feel ready or inspired every time you need to do something hard or important, you'll stay stuck. Motivation might get you started, but it won't keep you going. Discipline will. Discipline is what shows up when you don't feel like it. Discipline is the decision to do the thing anyway, to follow through, to keep your promise to yourself. Not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's not. The difference between people who succeed consistently and those who don't isn't talent. It's not intelligence. It's not even passion. It's discipline. It's the ability to act in alignment with your goals, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Because your feelings are going to betray you. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel insecure. And if your actions are dictated by your feelings, your progress will always be inconsistent. That's the trap most people fall into. They think, if I just find the right podcast, the right quote, the right moment, I'll feel motivated enough to finally do it. But the truth is, you don't need more motivation. You need a system. You need structure. You need to train your brain to follow through whether it wants to or not. Discipline is a skill. It's not something you're born with. It's something you build rep by rep, just like a muscle. You start with small things. You set an alarm and actually get up when it goes off. You make a plan and actually stick to it. You say you'll go to the gym and you actually show up, even if you only walk for 10 minutes. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not sexy. It doesn't get standing ovations. It happens in quiet moments. Surly mornings, late nights, tired days. It's in the decision to do the work when no one's watching, when no one's cheering, when it's just you versus your excuses. And yes, your excuses will come dressed as very reasonable things. You'll tell yourself you're being kind by skipping a workout because you had a long day. You'll tell yourself it's smart to wait until the timing is better. You'll convince yourself that rest is more productive than effort. And sometimes that's true, but more often it's fear wearing a mask. It's procrastination disguised as self-care. And discipline is the only voice in your head that can cut through that noise and say, no, we're doing it anyway, because this matters. The truth is, motivation is built on emotion, but discipline is built on identity. When you start showing up for yourself, even when you don't feel like it, you begin to trust yourself. And that trust compounds. You start to see yourself differently. You stop seeing yourself as someone who quits when it's hard or waits for perfect conditions. You become someone who follows through, someone who can be counted on, someone who does hard things, and that identity shift changes everything. Because once you believe that about yourself, your standards rise. Your actions align, and your life starts to reflect that internal shift. You don't need to feel fired up every morning. You just need to know what matters to you and act like it matters, even when it's hard. That's what discipline is. It's acting according to your values instead of your moods. It's not about being robotic or cold. It's about being committed. It's about understanding that your goals are not going to achieve themselves and no one is coming to push you. You are your own engine. You are your own coach. You are the one who decides whether you move forward or stay where you are. The people who get things done, who make real change, who build extraordinary lives. They're not always the most inspired. They're the most consistent. They don't rely on hype. They rely on habits. They don't chase motivation. They create momentum. And they do it by choosing discipline over and over again, especially when they don't feel like it. Because they understand that the cost of discipline is discomfort in the short term. But the cost of inconsistency, that's regret. And regret is a heavier weight to carry than any tough workout, difficult conversation, or early morning alarm. Your excuses sound smart. That's the problem. They sound reasonable. They sound protective. They sound like they're helping you. But underneath the surface there lies, carefully disguised as logic. Excuses don't come screaming, "I'm fear." They come wearing suits and carrying clipboards. They speak in calm, rational tones. They make a case for why now isn't the right time, why you're not ready, why there's too much going on. They sound like wisdom. They sound like self-awareness, but they are not. They are fear and self-doubt, cleverly cloaked in language that makes you believe you're being sensible when really, you're just stalling. Think about it. If your excuses came at you honestly, if they said, "You're scared of failing, so let's not even try," you'd probably fight back, but they don't. They say, "Let's wait until next week when your schedule clears up." Or "You should do more research first, just to be sure." Or "You can't risk looking stupid. What if you mess up?" These statements feel like logic. They feel responsible, but if you look closely, they're repetitive, they're convenient, and most of all, they're paralyzing. They don't push you forward. They keep you exactly where you are. And that's the first red flag. Real logic leads to action. Excuses lead to delay. Excuses are mental loopholes. They're the exit ramps you take every time you get close to doing something uncomfortable. And the more you use them, the more natural they become. You start repeating them like mantras. "I don't have time. I'm not good at that. I've tried before and it didn't work. I'm not like those people." The more often you say it, the more real it feels. But reality and truth are not always the same thing. Just because something feels real doesn't mean it's true. Just because you've repeated it to yourself 1,000 times doesn't make it a fact. It makes it a belief. And beliefs can be changed, especially the ones that are keeping you small. You might think you're being cautious, but caution without action becomes cowardice, and no, that's not a harsh judgment. It's a wake-up call. Because your future self is watching. The version of you who wants more, who sees more, who dreams of more. That version of you is waiting on the other side of your excuses. And every time you let one win, you widen the gap between who you are and who you could be. Your excuses aren't just slowing you down, they're stealing from you time, energy, potential. Every delay has a cost. Every rationalization has a consequence. Every time you wait until later, you're making a trade, your growth for your comfort. The most dangerous part is that no one will challenge you on your excuses. People will nod. They'll agree. They'll say, "Yeah, you're right. This probably isn't the best time." Because your excuses are common. They're shared. Most people live their lives inside of them. So they won't call you out. But you can. You have to. You have to start questioning the voice that sounds like reason, but feels like retreat. Ask yourself, is this really true? Or is this just safe? Is this actually impossible? Or am I just afraid to try? Am I protecting myself or hiding from growth? You have more power than you give yourself credit for. You don't need to eliminate every excuse overnight, but you do need to stop accepting them as truth. You need to start challenging them, not with force, but with clarity. You need to become a filter for your own thoughts, learning to separate fear from facts, avoidance from awareness. Because when you shine a light on your excuses, they lose their strength. They shrink. They reveal themselves for what they are, resistance in disguise. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. There will never be a perfect time. There will never be a moment when you feel completely ready. You will always have doubts. You will always have competing priorities. You will always be able to find a reason not to do the thing that scares you. But you can also find one reason to do it anyway, one reason to show up, one reason to take the first step. That's all you need to start, because momentum doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with one act of defiance against your own excuses. One moment where you choose to do what matters, even though every part of your brain is screaming for you to stay comfortable. Excuses feel safe, but they build cages. Logic feels strong, but when it's built on fear, it weakens you. If you want to grow, you have to be willing to separate truth from protection. You have to stop believing every thought just because it sounds reasonable. You have to get honest about what's really standing in your way. And most of the time, it's not the world, your past, your circumstances, or your limitations. It's the story you keep telling yourself to justify staying where it's safe. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's not a personality trait reserved for a lucky few. It's not something you find by thinking about it, reading about it, or waiting for it to arrive. Confidence is built, and the material it's built from is action. Every time you act, especially when you're afraid, unsure, or inexperienced, you lay another brick in the foundation of your self-belief. You don't think your way into confidence, you earn it. One uncomfortable, imperfect, courageous step at a time. You can read every book, listen to every podcast, visualize every scenario, and repeat every affirmation in the mirror. But if you don't take action, you won't change how you feel about yourself. You might feel momentarily inspired. You might feel momentarily brave, but inspiration fades if it's not followed by execution. Confidence isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a byproduct of doing. It's what happens when you stop letting fear drive your decisions. It's what grows when you realize you can survive discomfort, navigate failure, and keep moving anyway. Most people think confidence is a prerequisite for action. They think, when I'm confident, then I'll speak up, then I'll apply, then I'll try. But that's the lie. The truth is the opposite. Action comes first. Action precedes confidence. You don't wait until you feel bold. You act while you're shaking. You move while your voice is still trembling. And the more you do that, the more you realize you're capable of doing things scared. That realization is where confidence lives. Confidence isn't built in your comfort zone. It's built in the arena. It's built in the moments when you're vulnerable, exposed, and unsure. And you show up anyway. The more you stretch yourself, the more you prove to yourself that you can. You don't need to win every time. You don't even need to get it right. You just need to be the kind of person who doesn't let fear make your choices for you. That decision, to show up, to try, to act, is what turns fear into fuel. It's what shifts your identity from someone who hesitates to someone who takes the first step. And that identity shift is everything. Confidence is not "I will always succeed." It's "I can handle whatever happens." Big difference. Confidence is knowing you can show up messy, unsure, imperfect, and still move forward. It's not about being fearless. It's about learning that fear doesn't have to stop you, and you only learn that through action, through trying things before you feel ready, through risking the awkward moment, the misstep, the judgment, the uncertainty. That's the lab where confidence is built, not in theory but in experience. You might think you're not confident because of your past, because you failed once, because you were criticized, because someone told you that you weren't good enough. But confidence isn't built on what other people have said. It's built on what you prove to yourself. And the only way to rewrite those old stories is to create new evidence. You need new reference points, moments you can point to and say, "I did that. I handled that. I stepped up." Even if the outcome wasn't perfect, the act of trying is proof of your power. And that proof starts to override your doubt. Thinking about change is not the same as creating change. You can sit in your head all day, thinking about your goals, analyzing your fears, planning every detail, and still feel paralyzed. Thought without action just becomes rumination. It creates a false sense of progress, but it doesn't move you forward. Confidence is born in motion. The smallest step matters. The tiniest bit of progress counts, because action creates momentum, and momentum silences doubt faster than any amount of overthinking ever will. When you act, you learn. When you act, you grow. When you act, you gain insight, strength, and skill. And those things stack. The more you do, the more capable you feel. The more capable you feel, the more you do. That's the feedback loop of confidence. It's not a switch you flip. It's a cycle you create. A loop that starts with one decision to stop waiting until you feel ready and start proving to yourself that you are. The truth is, you already have what it takes. You don't need to feel 100% sure. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to start, because the version of you who is confident isn't waiting somewhere far off. They're on the other side of action, not action that guarantees success, but action that says, I'm worth the effort, I'm worth the risk, I'm worth the shot. And the more you act in alignment with that belief, the more true it becomes.